आभासुयरि वनचरे वृक्षवल्लि आभासुयरि वनचरे वृक्षवल्लि आभासुयरि वनचरे वृक्षवल्लि आभासुयरि वनचरे पक्षिः.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Youth Gym. Thank you all for joining. So nice to see everyone here. So before we start off with our regular program, we'll request someone to do a prayer. How this works is we'll have someone nominate a person, and if that gets seconded, we can have that devotee start off with a prayer. I'll send the prayer format in the chat in a second. Meanwhile, could anyone please either nominate or if you want to volunteer as well? All right, Rajaras nominates Arav and Rian seconds it. Arav, you should go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Can you just post the format in the chat? My dear Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Gauranitai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, let us please have a successful youth jam today where everybody can learn and take home something to utilize in their daily life. Thank you for considering our humble request. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Arav. And yeah, without any further ado, we'll get started with our Chad. And Brejras, would you be able to screen share or okay? Yeah. And yeah, since we have a small-ish group, is it the first? It's the first half, right? So we'll do how about 2 or 3? Let's do 3. It's 21 verses. Let's do 3 verses per person. Can we get some volunteers?
I could volunteer.
Sure, yeah. If we have everyone raise their hand and read in turns, then we can get through the set. Great. I'll start us off and then Arav can take it off from there. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Bhuya eva mahabaho Shृणु me paramam vachah Yatteham priyamanaya Vakshyami hitakamyaya Name vidu suragana Prabhavam na maharshayah Aham adir hi devanam Maharshinam cha sarvashah Yo mam ajamanadim cha Vetti loka maheshwaram Asammudha samartyeshu Sarva pape pramuchyate.
Uddhirnyanam masammoha Kshama satyam damashama Sukham dukkam bhavo bhavo Bhayam cha bhayam eva cha Ahimsa samata tushtis Tapodanam yasho yashah Bhavanti bhava bhutanam Matta eva pritag vidha Maharshaya sapta purve Chatvaro manavastata Madbhava manasa jata Yesham loka ima praja.
Keshav, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mam yo veti tattvata so kalpena yogena yujyate natra samshaya. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. मच्चित्ता मद्गता प्राणा बोधयन्तः परस्परं कथयन्तश्च मां नित्यं तुष्यन्ति च रमन्ति च
तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन माम् उपयान्ति ते तेषाम् एवानुकम्पार्थम् अहम् अज्ञानजं तमः नाशयाम्य आत्मभावस्थो ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता अर्जुन उवाच परं ब्रह्म परं धाम पवित्रं परमं भवान् पुरुषं शाश्वतं दिव्यम् आदिदेवम् अजं विभुम् आहुस्त्वां ऋषयः सर्वे देवर्षिर्नारदस्तथा आसितो देवलो व्यासः स्वयं चैव ब्रवीषि मे
सर्वमेतदृतं मन्ये यन्मां वदसि केशव न हि ते भगवन् व्यक्तिं विदुर्देवान दानवाः स्वयमेवात्मनात्मानं वेत्थत्वं पुरुषोत्तम भूतभावनभूतेश देवदेव जगत्पते वक्तुमर्हस्य शेषेण दिव्या ह्यात्मविभूतयः याभिर्विभूतिभिर्लोकान् इमां स्वां व्याप्य तिष्ठसि
कथं विद्यम् अहं योगिंस् त्वां सदा परिचिन्तयन् केषु केषु च भावेषु चिन्त्योऽसि भगवन्मया विस्तरेणात्मनो योगं विभूतिं च जनार्दन भूय कथय तृप्तिर्हि शृण्वतो नास्ति मे मृतम् श्रीभगवानुवाच हन्त ते कथयिष्यामि दिव्या ह्यात्मविभूतया प्राधान्यता कुरु श्रेष्ठ नास्त्यन्तो विस्तरस्य मे
अहम् आत्मा गुडाकेश सर्वभूताश्रयस्थितः अहम् आदिश्च मध्यं च भूतानाम् अन्त एव च आदित्यानाम् अहं विष्णुर्ज्योतिषां रविरंशुमान् मरीचिर्मरुताम् अस्मि नक्षत्राणाम् अहं शशि
Thank you everyone for reading, and we'll go back and read the translations for these 21 verses. Yeah, we'll get some. Atlanta Youth. Wow, a lot of participants there. You guys want to take turns and read some translations?
Yes, yeah.
Here you go.
I think you'll have to come closer to the laptop. We're not able to hear you. Maybe you're getting cut out as background noise right now. Maybe we'll come back to you, all of you. Rian, go ahead.
How many translations again?
You can read 3.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, because you are my dear friend. For your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all of the worlds, he only undiluted among men is freed from all sins.
Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. The seven great sages, and before them the four other great sages, and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt.
I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. To those who are constantly devoted by serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me.
Okay. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the unlimited abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You're the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me." Do I read this one as well? No.
O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all of these worlds. O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you, and how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? O Janardana, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I'm never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless. I am the Super Soul, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi, and among the stars, I am the moon." Right. Thank you, everyone who volunteered to read both the verses and the translation. This is a longer chapter, so we usually break up when we're doing Chad for the next couple months. Chapter 10 is broken up to two halves. So we'll pick a verse from this chapter. We'll go with the 8th verse, right, Bradras? And we'll kind of do a little discussion on it because this is one of the important verses, I think, in the 8th or the 10th chapter. So, Bradras, you want to take it over?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna read through it and we'll go into breakout rooms and have some discussion around this verse. And so uh, we'll start with the translation and we'll read the purport together. If anyone wants to volunteer to read, let's say one paragraph each, feel free to raise your hand. So I'll get us started with the translation and the first paragraph of the purport. I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. A learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literature agrees that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.24, it is said, Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam, Yo Vai Vedamsha Gapayati Sma Krishna. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again, the Narayana Upanishad says, Asa Purusho Havai Narayano Kamayata Prajashrajayati. Then the Supreme Personality Narayana desired to create living entities. The Upanishad continues, Narayanad Brahma Jayate, Narayanad Prajapati Prajayate, Narayanad Indro Jayate, Narayanad Ashto Vasavo Jayante, Narayanad Ekadasha Rudra Jayante, Narayanad Dvadasha Adityaha. From Narayana, Brahma is born. From Narayana, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayana, Indra is born. From Narayana, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayana, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayana, the 12 Adityas are born. This Narayana is an expansion of Krishna. Ritwik, you can go ahead.
It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmano Devaki Putraha, the son of Devaki, Krishna is the Supreme Personality. Narayan Upanishad 4. Then it is said, Eko Vai Narayana Asin Na Brahma Nesho Napo Nagi Samo Neme Yao Aprithivi Na Naksharani Na Suryaha. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality of Narayana. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no water, no fire, no moon, no heaven and earth, no stars in the sky, no sun. Maha Upanishad 1.2. In the Maha Upanishad, it is also said that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped.
In the Moksha Dharma section of the Mahabharata, Krishna also says, Prajapatim cha rudram chapya aham eva shijamyave tau himam na vijanito mam ma maya vimohitao. The patriarchs, Shiva, and others are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In the Varaha Purana, it is also said, Narayana paro devas tasmad jatash chaturmukha tasmad rudra bhavad deva sacha sarva gyatam gata. Narayana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born.
Atlanta, youth?
Hare Krishna, can you hear?
Yes.
Lord Krishna. Louder, louder.
Most efficient cause of everything. He says, because everything is no one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna.
I think we're sometimes able to hear you, sometimes not.
Spiritual master represents from Vedic literature engages fully learned man. In comparison to him, all others do not know Krishna. Ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered. He should avoid interpretations on Bhagavad Gita and proceed in Krishna conscious.
Thank you. That concludes our reading of this wonderful verse. It's part of the Chaturshloki of the Bhagavad Gita, which means so 8 to 11 would be like the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. So these are really important verses, and we have a really good opportunity to discuss them and also get to know each other a little better because, of course, some of us, we're all from different areas in the world. And so I'll just open the rooms right now. So there's one room that's going to be moving from here, and then the rest of us can just stay in the main room for today, as we need a host here in the main room. Does that sound okay to everyone? If you're going to get your room assignments shortly, so feel free to move if you have one, and if you don't have one, don't worry, you're going to be here. All right, Hare Krishna, everyone. We have Kesha, we have those in Atlanta, we got Avyan, and we got Raghav. Do you all want to introduce yourselves? Just say your name, your age, where you're from, and then let's do your favorite piece of clothing as the icebreaker question. Keshav, do you want to start?
Name, age, and favorite piece of clothing?
And where you're from?
Okay. My name is Keshav. I'm 13. I'm from Baltimore, and my favorite piece of clothing is like a jacket, I guess.
You want to popcorn to someone else? You can pick someone else to introduce themselves.
Popcorn to Raghav.
My name is Raghav. I'm 16 years old. I'm from California, and my favorite piece of clothing is pants.
You want to popcorn at Raghav?
I'll give it to Avyan.
Hare Krishna, my name is Avyan. I'm 11 years old and I'm from Oklahoma. And my favorite piece of clothing is a shirt.
You want to popcorn at Avyan?
ATL Youth.
Hare Krishna, can you hear us?
Yeah.
My name is Arav. I'm years old and I'm from Atlanta. And then my favorite clothing is a shirt.
My name's Sanvi. I'm 11, and my favorite piece of clothing. I'm from Atlanta, and my favorite piece of clothing is dress.
Hare Krishna, my name is Akshij. I'm from Atlanta and I'm 13. And my favorite piece of clothing is a shirt.
Hare Krishna,
We're not able to hear you. You might need to sit up on your knees like the rest of them.
My name. My name is. Can you hear me? Hello, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. My name is Sri. I'm 13. I'm from Atlanta, and my favorite piece of clothing is.
Hare Krishna, I'm Anvika, and I'm Arav's brother. I'm sister. Sister. And my favorite piece of clothing is a jumpsuit.
I'll go last. Hare Krishna. I'm Brajaras Bhavana. I'm from ISV in California. I'm 21, and my favorite piece of clothing is shoes. Helps me out a lot. I wanted to be unique. Everyone said shirts and pants already. Okay, so let's go over this verse. Let me share my screen so we can all just take a look at it again. I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service, and they worship me with all their hearts. What about that first part? I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. What do you think about that? Are there any like stories or examples where you're able to really not visualize, but you're able to describe that um, fact about Krishna, where he's the source? Raghav, go ahead.
I think source is when he shows Arjuna his Virat roop. It consists of everything where everything is emitting from it and everything is getting destroyed by it. So it shows him as the origin of all universes.
That's a really good example. Yeah, and that's like just the next chapter even. Any other connections that you can think of? Kesha, what's on your mind?
Like in general, like how it's connected to the first part of the verse.
Yeah, just like what kind of stories or what kind of verses may be connected to the first part.
Um, in the NOI, I think it's like the second verse, maybe. It just talks about all of Krishna's different potencies. So it talks about like how he has a material potency and how he has a spiritual potency, and how he also has like the marginal potency, and how the living entities are the marginal potency, and like the how the living entities can either like gravitate toward the spiritual energy or can gravitate towards the material energy.
Okay. And so is that in the purport of NOI 2?
Yeah, I think so.
I see. Thank you for bringing that up, Keshav. That's very, very pertinent to what's going on over here, where that there are these three kinds of energies that contain like his entire creation. One is spiritual, one is material, and then the other is the jivas. Arav, you look ready to go and say something. Let's hear it.
Hare Krishna. Yes, yeah. Everybody here was just thinking about when Krishna bewildered Brahma, and he brought all the different Brahmas from different universes just to show
Mm.
that there's only one of me. I created all of it like that. And Brahma should not become too proud of his position like that.
That's a very visual example for Brahma of how he's not the source, but rather Krishna is. Avyan.
I was thinking of the Samudra Manthan where like when the demons are churning, the Vasuki serpent, like the fumes are like burning up. So like Krishna or Vishnu, he just puts like some rain, so he's like controlling everything, making sure it's comfortable for them.
Where Krishna really showed that he's the one in control. He was like really trying to keep that thing going. He helped out in so many different ways. Thanks for mentioning that, Avyan. And then another story that let me share what I was thinking of as well. when he says that he's the source of all spiritual and material world, everything emanates from him. Um, Something I think of is that even though he's the source, he's also containing it. I think some of you mentioned that, which is pretty interesting. Like he created it, but he also contains it, and so he knows everything about it because he's the one containing all that. But he's also beyond it because he's the container. He's not inside it. It's like a fishbowl, where the bowl itself is not in, is just containing all that water, but it's not a part of that water. And so even though Krishna is the source and everything emanates from him, he's the origin, he's the container, he is not affected by the material world. So I found that to be an interesting connection as well. The second part of it is the wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service. And this is another very interesting point because it leads into the next verses, which talk about how the devotees are always thinking about Krishna. They're always talking about Krishna. They're always conversing about him with other devotees and so on. And so this is the foundational part of it. And then this is this is leading to the rest of these four verses. And worship me with all their hearts. And what's really interesting is that Prabhupada, at the end, he kind of talks about how this is very practical. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master, with references from Vedic literature, engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. And so, what I want to ask you is, do you feel like this is what happened for you? Where are you able to really recognize Krishna as the supreme controller? And if you do, uh, is this how you plan on getting to a stage where you're able to serve him in devotional service and so on? I just want to hear your thoughts on this whole journey of a potential devotee and then a devotee, and how you could relate to that, perhaps, or maybe not even relate to it. Does anyone want to start? Avian, go ahead.
So, like, to say that Krishna's the supreme controller, a few weeks ago we were going to Detroit to the temple there, and the flight just kept on canceling and canceling. So at one point we reached the airport. We had to go to Dallas, so it's like a 3-hour drive. So we reached the airport and then it just kept on canceling. So we came back and then my dad checked the flight status and the next day, and it was like the flight, they boarded the flight, it was on the runway and it was just sitting on the runway for like 3.5 hours. And then it got canceled. So Krishna
Oh,
just made us say, let's go home. Because we brought our deities too, so we went home. So Krishna just told us, let's go home and no wait there.
thank you, Evan, for sharing that. How do you feel like, or what kind of insight you got from that? So you got like a message from Krishna, like where he was trying to just like not like don't wait it out more than you need to.
I felt like Krishna was telling us, like, I got your back. Like, if you need help, I'm here. I'm not just a statue. So that gave us
Mm.
more faith on him, that he's a
Were you
real.
able to get to Detroit in the end?
No, we just canceled the trip.
Canceled the trip, came back. Thank you, Evan, for sharing that. Arav, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. For one example of a truly learned man is Gaurakishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Although like maybe he didn't know full Sanskrit or like full English or anything like that, he was still a very very devoted to Lord Chaitanya, his guru, and he trained so many good disciples like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And although he might not have been the most learned person, he realized the meanings of the scriptures, and that's why he's a truly learned person.
Thank you for sharing that, Arav. That was really powerful. Keshav.
So, like Krishna, about like how everything's under Krishna. So like whenever we go like whenever something like bad happens, or like we have, like, let's say we're driving and then we come close to having an accident, or like we're just really close to a car. So then like I only remember Krishna in like difficult situations, and then I just realized that like Krishna is the only way to only if we do pray to Krishna, then only, because he controls everything. We can't control anything. Like,
Okay, sure.
yeah.
Go ahead. No, finish your thought.
But like I was just thinking of this verse where it says that like uh a physician can't save a patient, and like a parent can't save a child. So like similarly, basically, like I don't really know the whole verse, but it's like you can't save yourself as well, like with that by yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you, Arav. That was sorry, not Arav, Keshav. That was really, really nice. And I want to ask you another question. Like when you think of Krishna in those situations, how do you think of him? Do you say something to him, or do you just remember that, hey, you control this? Like how does that engagement go?
Well, like first of all, I get scared, and then second of all, I just like think about Krishna, because like Krishna's the only way it can get fixed. Because like I will just try effortlessly and it won't work. Only if Krishna wants to, then it'll work.
Mhm. That's really nice, Keshav. Thank you. Something I was thinking about regarding these lines was that one who understands Krishna in such a way from a spiritual master with references engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. And it's a sense of like when you get to know that Krishna is the supreme controller and you realize what your position is as his servant, it just becomes so natural to engage all your energy in Krishna consciousness. Like the desire is there, of course, like there's a lot of like obstacles that we may have within ourselves and our mind and body and whatnot, but like the desire to like fully engage ourselves, it gets much stronger the more we know about that and the more we realize that Krishna really he's the only thing that's happening here. Everything else is just not working in our favor. And so that's what I was thinking about in connection to this, where that process of knowing it is such a drastic life-changing event where you just naturally want to become someone engaged in his service. Raghav, do you want to share any points regarding this before we continue?
Yeah, I think I can probably try sharing something.
Yeah, go.
So essentially, if you understand that Krishna is everything, that Krishna is permanent, then you're going to be more likely to start chasing after Krishna than other material temporary pleasures. Because when you chase after material temporary pleasures, you're trying to find something that will give you enjoyment or happiness, but it's only going to be temporary. But if you find a personal source of that happiness, then you'll be more likely to chase after that. And a more permanent source of happiness is only Krishna, because I mean he composes everything. So, you know, if you realize that Krishna is everything, then you'll start worshiping Krishna more diligently.
Have you felt that happen to you in your life? That kind of realization?
Uh not really.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Raghav,
not
for
really.
sharing. Thank you. Sorry, Arav, we'll have to revisit your point maybe later in the program. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the main room. Let me. I think you got someone stuck in the room still, but hopefully they find their way back. All right. Now we can. Oh, let me stop screen sharing. Now we can maybe just take a few reflections from the breakout rooms. If anyone wants to share a point that another group member made that you liked, or even one of your own points, just feel free to raise your hand. We can take two, maybe one from each room, ideally. Did everyone enjoy the breakout rooms this time around? We had room 0 and
Yeah,
the main
they
one.
were really good.
They were really good. Ritvik, what was something really nice that someone said in your room?
We were mainly talking about how in the verse it talked about the Narayan Puran, how Narayan said in this verse that how it said that Narayan was the supreme personality before anything. There's no moon, no sun, no anything, no Brahma, no Shiva, but there was Narayan. And then we connected it to this verse called we connected it to the verse 18.66 Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Ta Sarva Papebhyaha Moksha Yeshyami Ma Shuchaha, which because that verse means you should always take mercy from the Lord and always try and get forgiven by the Lord. So what we learned from this verse was we connected it to that because there was nothing before the Lord. So taking forgiveness from the Lord was very well connected with it.
Thank you, Ritvik. Thank you for sharing that. And anything from room 0, maybe Arav, you want to share a little bit about something you felt inspired by or learned?
Yes, yeah. I think Raghav I think
Oh, well, we won't be able to hear you anymore, I think. You might want to
can you
turn
hear
off
me?
your background
Uh,
sound compression or suppression.
okay, let me try
Or maybe Keshav or Raghav or Avian, if any of you want to share something from our room. In the meantime, Keshav, go ahead.
So what we talked about in our room was how Krishna is the controller of everything and nothing is above him and everything's below him, and we're just talking about scenarios where we felt that really happened to us.
Thanks, Keshav. Arav, let's give it a shot.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes.
So yeah, I think Raghav had said that Krishna is eternal, so our happiness should be put into. I think it was like this. So if since our position is as jivas and the soul doesn't die, we should not put our happiness into this material world because it'll be like a gridlock. Something material can't be loved by something eternal. So instead, we should put our souls to use by putting them in service of Krishna. And since the soul is eternal, death is like a foreign thing. So we'll just keep serving Krishna.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Raghav. Sorry, Arav. I keep mixing your names for some reason. Thank you, Arav. All right, now we'll be moving on to our Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita reading. And so we'll try to get maybe like 15, 20 minutes in. So feel free to raise your hands. We do 2 to 3 paragraphs each. So if it's like short paragraphs like the one right here on the page, you can do 3. And if it's like longer paragraphs, you could do 2. And so feel free to raise your hands and let's continue our reading of Prabhupada Lamrita. Mayuri, you can get us started.
Thank you. In Volume 1, he had covered the first 6.5 chapters of the first canto. The second volume began on page 365 with the 8th verse of the 7th chapter. Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote in his purport that the Srimad Bhagavatam was meant for Paramahamsas, persons engaged purely in self-realization. Yet, he wrote, it works into the depths of the heart of those who may be worldly men. Worldly men are all engaged in the matter of sense gratification. But even such men also will find in this Vedic literature a remedial measure for their material diseases. Bhaktivedanta Swami returned to Delhi to raise funds for printing Volume 2. When he visited a prospective donor, he would show the man Volume 1 and the growing collection of reviews, explaining that he was asking a donation not to support himself, but to print this important literature. Although for the first volume he had received no donations equal to the 4,000 rupees he had received from Mr. Podar, an executive in the L&H sugar factory, gave a donation of 5,000 rupees for volume 2. Bhaktivedanta Swami had been dissatisfied with Hitsaran Sharma as a production supervisor. Although supposedly an expert in the trade, Hitsaran had caused delays and sometimes he had advised Gautam Sharma without consulting Bhaktivedanta Swami. The work on Volume 1 had slowed and even stopped when a job from a cash customer had come up, and Bhaktivedanta Swami had complained that it was Hitsaran's fault for not giving money to OK Press on time. For Volume 2, Bhaktivedanta Swami decided to deal directly with OK Press and supervise the printing himself. He spoke to Gautam Sharma and offered a partial payment. Although the majority of the copies of Volume 1 were still standing on their printing floor, Bhaktivedanta Swami wanted OK Press to begin Volume 2. Gautam Sharma accepted the job.
It was early in 1964 when Volume 2 went to press, following the same steps as Volume 1. But this time, Bhaktivedanta Swami was more actively present pushing. To avoid delays, he purchased the paper himself at Siddhomal and Sons Paper Merchants. In the heart of the paper district, he would choose and order his paper and then arrange to transport it to OK Press. If the order was a large one, he would have it carried by cart. Smaller orders he would send by rickshaw or on the head of a bearer. In his preface to the second volume, Bhaktivedanta Swami expressed the apparent oddity of working in Delhi while living in Vrindavan. The path of fruitive activities, to say the path of earn money and enjoy life, as it is going on generally, appears to have become also our profession, although we have renounced the order of worldly life. They see that we are not moving in the cities, in the government offices, banks, and other business places for promoting the publication of Srimad Bhagavatam. They also see that we are moving in the press, paper market, and amongst the bookbinders also away from our residence at Vrindavan, and thus they conclude sometimes mistakenly that we are also doing the same business in the dress of a mendicant.
Ritwik?
Which paragraph do I read from? But actually, there is a gulf of difference between the two kinds of activities. This is not a business for maintaining an establishment of natural enjoyment. On the contrary, it is an humble attempt to broadcast the glories of the Lord at a time when the people need it very badly. Do I continue reading?
Yes, you could read two more.
He went on to describe how in former days, even 50 years ago, well-to-do members of society had commissioned pandits to print or handwrite the Bhagavatam and then distribute copies amongst the devotees and the general people. But times have changed. At the present moment, the time is so changed that we had to request one of the biggest industries in India to purchase 100 copies and distribute them. But the poor fellow expressed his inability. We wished that somebody may come forward to pay for the actual cost of publication of the Srimad Bhagavatam and let them be distributed for free to all the leading gentlemen of the world. But nobody is so far prepared to do this social uplifting work. After thanking the Ministry of Education and the Director of Education for distributing copies to the institutions and libraries, I can't see. Bhaktivedanta Swami again stated his predicament before his reading public. The problem is that we must get the money for completing the work, which is admittedly a mighty project. The sales proceeds are being employed in the promotional work and not in sense of gratification. Herein lies the difference from fruitive activities. And for all this, we have to approach everyone concerned just like a businessman. There is no harm to become a businessman if it is done on an account of the Lord as much as there was no harm to become a violent warrior like Arjuna or Hanumanji, if such belligerent activities are executed to satisfy the desires of the Supreme Lord. Sorry, my reading was bad because I'm currently in the car. I'm sorry.
No, no worries. That was really nice, Rituk. Thank you so much. So even though we are not in the Himalayas, even though we talk of business, even though we deal in rupees and paisa, still simply because we are 100% servants of the Lord and are engaged in the service of broadcasting the message of his glories, certainly we shall transcend and get through the invincible impasse of Maya and reach the effulgent kingdom of God to render him face to face eternal service in full bliss and knowledge. We are confident of this factual position, and we may also assure to our numerous readers that they will also achieve the same result simply by hearing the glories of the Lord. On receipt of the first copies of the second volume, another 400-page cloth-bound brick-colored Srimad Bhagavatam with the same dust jacket as Volume 1, Bhaktivedanta Swami made the rounds of the institutions, scholars, politicians, and booksellers. One Delhi bookseller, Dr. Manohar Lal Jain, had particular success in selling the volumes. Manohar Lal Jain. He would come to me for selling his books. He would come often, and he used to chat with me for 1 or 2 hours. He had no other business except selling his books as much as possible. We would discuss the difficulties he was having and also many other things, yoga, Vedanta, and religious aspects of life. His problem was distributing his work because it was a big publication. He had planned to publish it in many volumes. Naturally, I told him it was not possible for any individual bookseller or publisher here to publish it and invest money in it. So that was a little bit of a disappointment for him because he could not bring out more volumes.
But my sales were good because this was the best translation. Sanskrit text with English translations. No other such edition was available. I sold about 150 to 200 copies in about 2 to 3 years. The price was very little, only 16 rupees. He had published his reviews and he had a good sell, a good market. The price was reasonable and he was not interested in making money out of it. He was printing in English for the foreigners. He had a good command of Sanskrit as well as English. When we met, we would speak in English, and his English was very expressive. He wanted me to publish, but I didn't have any presses and no finances. I told him frankly I would not be able to publish it because it was not 1 or 2 volumes but many. But he managed anyhow. I referred him to Atmaram and Sons. He also used to go there. He was a great master, a philosopher, a great scholar. I used to enjoy the talks. He used to sit with me for 1 or 2 hours, as much as he could afford. Sometimes he would come in the morning, 11 or 12, and then sometimes in the afternoon. He used to come in for money. How many copies are sold? So I would pay him. Practically, he was not doing very well with finances at that time. He only wanted that his books should be sold. So, to every library and everywhere where the people are interested in it. Should I continue reading?
We can have Chaitanya now. Thank you so much, Sudevi.
Thank you.
We used to publish a catalog every month, and I would advertise his book. Orders would be coming from all over the world, so at least for me, the sales were picking up. If I sold 100 copies of the first volume, then I figured the second volume would be sold in the same number, naturally. But definitely those who would take the first volume would also take volume two, because it was institutional, and the institutions would always try to complete their set. He used to discuss with me how the volumes can be brought out, and how many it would take to complete the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was very much interested in bringing out the whole series. In January of 1964, Bhaktivedanta Swami was granted an interview with Indian Vice President Zakir Hussain, who, although a Muslim, had written an appreciation of Bhaktivedanta Swami's Srimad Bhagavatam. As Dr. Hussain cordially received the author at a presidential palace, Bhaktivedanta Swami spoke of the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam in the cause of love of Godhead. But Dr. Hussain wanted to know how love of Godhead could help humanity. The question put by ruler de Sadhu was filled with philosophical implications, but the vice president's busy schedule of meetings did not permit Bhaktivedanta Swami to answer fully. For the vice president, the interview was a gesture of appreciation, recognizing the Swami for his work on behalf of India's Hindu cultural heritage, and Bhaktivedanta Swami humbly accepted the ritual.
Later, however, he wrote Dr. Hussain a long letter answering the question he had not had time to answer during their brief meeting. Muslims also admit, he wrote, that there is nothing greater than Allah. The Christians also admit that God is great. The human society must learn to obey the laws of God. He reminded Dr. Hussain of India's great cultural asset, the Vedic literature, and the Indian government could perform the best welfare work for humanity by disseminating Vedic knowledge in a systematic way. Srimad Bhagavatam was produced in India, and it was the substantial contribution India could offer to the world. In March of 1964, Krishna Pandit, Bhaktivedanta Swami's sponsor at the Radha Krishna temple in Chippiwada, arranged for him to reside for a few months at the Sri Radha Vallabhji temple in the nearby Rosanpura Naisarak neighborhood. There he could continue his writing and publishing, but he would also be giving a series of lectures. Krishna Pandit provided Bhaktivedanta Swami about 1,500 rupees for his maintenance. On Bhaktivedanta Swami's arrival at Sri Radha Vallabhji temple, the manager distributed notices inviting people to take full advantage of the presence of a Vaishnava sadhu. As resident Acharya, Bhaktivedanta Swami held morning and evening discourses at the temple, without reducing his activities of writing and preaching. In June, Bhaktivedanta Swami got the opportunity to meet Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. The meeting had been arranged by Doladram Khanna, a wealthy jeweler who was a trustee of the Chippiwada temple, and had often met with Bhaktivedanta Swami there. An old friend of Prime Minister Shastri since youth, when they had attended the same yoga club, Mr. Khanna arranged the meeting as a favor to the Bhaktivedanta Swami. Let the Prime Minister meet a genuine sadhu, Mr. Khanna thought.
Anyone like to keep the reading going? Feel free to raise your hand if you do. It was a formal occasion in the gardens of the Parliament building, and the Prime Minister was meeting a number of guests. Prime Minister Shastri, dressed in white kurta and dhoti, and a Nehru hat, and surrounded by aides, received the elderly sadhu. Bhaktivedanta Swami, looking scholarly in his spectacles, stepped forward and introduced himself and his book, Srimad Bhagavatam. As he handed the Prime Minister a copy of Volume 1, a photographer snapped a photo of the author and the Prime Minister smiling over the book. The next day, Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote to Prime Minister Shastri. He soon received a reply personally signed by the Prime Minister. Dear Swamiji, many thanks for your letter. I am indeed grateful to you for presenting a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam to me. I do realize that you are doing valuable work. It would be a good idea if the libraries and the government institutions purchase copies of this book. Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote back to the Prime Minister, requesting him to buy books for Indian institutions. Mr. R.K. Sharma of the Ministry of Education subsequently wrote back confirming that they would take 50 copies of Volume 2, just as they had taken Volume 1. We will close with Chaitanya and then Ishika.
To concentrate on completing Volume 3, Bhaktivedanta Swami returned to the Radha Damodar temple. These were the last chapters of the first canto, dealing with the advent of the present age of Kali. There were many verses foretelling society's degradation and narrating how the great King Parikshit had staved off Kali's influence by his strong Krishna-conscious rule. In his purports, Bhaktivedanta Swami wrote that government should not check corruption unless it rooted out the four basic principles of religion: meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling. You cannot check all of these evils of society simply by statutory acts of police vigilance, but you have to cure the disease of mind by the proper medicine, namely advocating the principles of Brahminical culture or the principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. We must always remember that false pride, undue attachment for women or association with them, an intoxicating habit of all. Description will cripple the human civilization from the path of factual peace. However, the people may go on clamoring for such peace of the world. To raise funds for Volume 3, Bhaktivedanta Swami decided to try Bombay. He traveled there in July and stayed at the Prem Kutir Dharmashal, a free ashram. Srila Prabhupada, at Prem Kutir, they received me very nicely. I was going to sell my books. Some of them were criticizing. What kind of sannyasi? He's making business book selling. Not the authorities said this, but some of them. I was writing my book then also.
Then I became a guest for 15 days with a member of the Dalmia family. One of the brothers told me that he wanted to construct a little cottage at his house. You can live here. I will give you a nice cottage, I thought. No, it is not good to be fully dependent and patronized by a Vishayi, materialist. But I stayed for 15 days and he gave me exclusive use of a typewriter for writing my books. Bhaktivedanta Swami made his rounds of the institutions and booksellers in Bombay. He now had an advertisement showing himself with Prime Minister Shastri, and he also had the Prime Minister's letter and the Ministry of Education's purchase order for 50 volumes. Still, he was getting only small orders. Then he decided to visit Sumati Morariji, head of the Scindia Steamship Company. He had heard from his godbrothers in Bombay that she was known for helping sadhus and had donated to the Bombay Gaudiya Math. He had never met her, but he well remembered the 1958 promise by one of her officers to arrange half-fare passage for him to America. Now he wanted her to help for printing Srimad Bhagavatam.
Thank you all for participating in the reading, and now we'll just have our last part of the program for our discussion. And so feel free to share any reflections that you have from today's wonderful reading of the Lilamrita or even our Chad at the beginning of the program, or anything that's going on in your week. Let's try to get 3 reflections today before we close. Rian, do you have anything on your mind? Raghav? Ishika, go ahead.
I thought it was really nice how, although people were accusing like Prabhupada of trying to make a business out of his position, he continued selling books regardless of what people thought of him because he knew his intent was good and what he knew that it'd be better for him to just continue writing books and selling them rather than answer to people who didn't trust him and didn't believe in his position. I feel like sometimes, even nowadays with Maharajas, some people don't trust the position of a Maharaj or a guru. And, you know, since they are, elevated souls, they are unbothered by such people who, accuse them of that. So that was very nice.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Sorry, I was muted. It was a very different time back then, and the culture was also so different. And we should try to imbibe that as well. Arav, is that you?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, yeah. I'm speaking from a different device. That's why it's not coming in. So my friend here, Akshaj, wanted just to share a point.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Today, all of us actually went for book distribution at Global Mall. So I just want to tell you that on Vaishika Maharaj's mission for book distribution, we went and we distributed, like, how many books did we distribute?
A few.
Like a few. But we're hoping to go another time too. Yeah.
And it was really inspiring to hear the hardships Prabhupada had to go through. And we only went like once, but it was really inspiring to hear about Prabhupada's journey. And we want to thank Vaisheshika Maharaj for his class earlier today, because it definitely gave us a lot more insights on how to distribute books. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's wonderful. For those who don't know, today's Global Youth Book Distribution Day. And so all the youth from all around the world have been going out on book distribution. That's actually why Vaisheshika Prabhu was not able to join today, because he's out on book distribution. And also a lot of youth from ISV haven't come in, or in the West Coast, honestly, because it's still afternoon here, whereas it's evening for you in the East Coast. And so thank you so much for sharing that. And if anyone's really interested, there's a really nice workshop today morning at ISV. You can check the live stream on YouTube. And there was a workshop on how to distribute a Gita to a Westerner and also an Indian. And so it was very good. Thank you so much for sharing. Any last points? Any last thoughts? All right, I think today was a wonderful session here at UCHAM. We got a lot done, and we had some really nice conversations and discussions. Hopefully, you all met someone new in the breakout rooms, and we look forward to seeing you again next week at the same time, 3 p.m. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.